Vishal, my good friend Mr. Deepak Sahu, August member of this audience, a very good evening to each one of you. I know Friday evening is not one of those days that you wish to be in a gathering like this, but all credit to Mr. Deepak Sahu for mobilizing, each one of the members in this August audience. I'll not talk about cloud computing because the panel is going to talk about it and going to throw more light on, what's it about, what's the future, how is it that we can enhance the penetration of cloud in a variety of sectors and so on. But I just thought I'll share a couple of thoughts with you in why is it that we as a country are losing ground in some of the very important sectors which were the core competence of the country maybe a couple of 100 years ago, and then why is it that the kind of penetration that we, maybe the present generation or even the future generation expect is not happening. I'm making this statement because, textiles, we were the last word in the world for a couple of hundreds of years. Today, very small countries you will find it difficult to trace on the map, on an atlas, are overtaking us. Now, why is it that this is happening? Not only the technology space is certainly happening, but even in those areas where, as I said, we were global leaders. We in the state are doing something to ensure that some of the lost ground we regain, but that may not be enough if you look at the kinds of challenges that we encounter today. The thought which I thought I'll share with you is about how do we increase the innovation DNA in the country, in our economy. How do we enhance the footprints of innovation? What is it that we need to do? Why is it that we are where we are? And how is it that we take it forward in the days, in the weeks, and in the months to come? The first thing that we need to do is we need to fix the R&D ecosystem. Why is it that Google acquired Motorola Mobility, paying $11 billion plus? The answer is obvious. Motorola Mobility had 17,000 to 18,000 US patents. In this globally competitive world, and we being an integral part of it, what is our IP protocol? That determines our competitiveness. You look at the number of applications filed in the US Patent Office by the different countries, we are laggards. How is it that we strengthen the IP protocol within the economy, within the country, irrespective of the vertical that we are talking of, is something that has been occupying our attention for quite some time now. Be it IP creation, be it IP protection, be it IP monetization, we need to have an IP protocol which meets the requirements of the industry, of the economy, to be in the forefront, at least in those sectors which we have been known for a couple of centuries. I know that, and all of us know that people say that information technology, IT, is not only information technology, but India's tomorrow. Similarly, biotechnology is not just BT, but it is also Bharat tomorrow. It may be so today, but I'm sure you're equally aware that small countries like Philippines have picked up in the BPO sector, especially the voice-based BPO, who were non-entities even 5 years ago. They have taken more than 50% of our market in just about 5 years' time. That's the kind of scenario that we are living in. How do we ensure that we don't lose further ground is something which, as I said, we are currently preoccupied with. I just thought I'll share a couple of thoughts on this account. Look at the global innovation space. Innovations take place in 3 different verticals. One is the university, second is the corporate world, and the third is the government lab. We don't have much control over corporate R&D, but certainly university and government labs is something that we can think of. Now, where do all the Nobel laureates come from? When we talk of these 3 segments, where do all the Nobel laureates come from each year? when I say each year, each of the years since it was instituted in 1910 plus, it's from the university, it's from the academia, who are the largest contributors of Nobel laureates. From the beginning till the middle of the entire era, and even today, it is the academia, it's the university which contributes the maximum in terms of beneficiaries of Nobel Prize. Now, what's happening independently in each of these spheres? Why is it that the kind of innovation we see in other countries, we don't see a similar ecosystem prevailing in our country, in our economy? Now, again, look at some of the examples of success stories that we have. The National Science Foundation, US, has an annual budget of close to $115 billion US. And where does this money go to? 35% of it goes to the university. Now, in India, it's just about slightly less than 5%, which goes to the university. Now, if we know that the kind of ground covered by other countries, university is the greatest, sharer of these kinds of output that we normally expect, why is it that we are not into it in a big way as other countries are? Again, as I said, if it's less than 5%, you can imagine why is it that we are not into it in a big way. And what are the outcomes? Outcomes is something that we see on a daily basis in the newspapers, in the periodicals, and in the electronic media. Now, most important thing that we lack is we don't have competition. We don't have competition for students. We don't have competitions for the faculty. We don't have competition for funding, the resources that each one of these agencies have, be it the University Grants Commission, be it the CSIR, there must be a hunger on the part of these institutions to grab as much of, the best of faculty as possible, the best of students as possible, and the best of, the faculty and the lower down staff, the researchers, and so on. You look at the US scenario, the best of the faculty is the most sought after, and the kind of, competition that takes place to get the best of staff, be it Harvard, be it Stanford, be it MIT, the competition that takes place to get the best of students, the best of researchers, the best of interns, that's the, core behind that kind of a scenario where you see R&D taking place in a big way. The academia, the research, the engineers, and the industry talking to each other in a big way. Now, that scenario is completely missing in this part of the world. Now, what is it that we need to do? What is it that we are doing is something I would like to share with you. There's an organization called Formulate IP. In fact, I requested the CEO to be here because it would have been good to have an interaction with this August gathering. It's headed by one Mr. Neeraj Gupta. He is a product of Madras IIT. About 15, 20 years ago, he passed out and went to the Bay Area, set up a very big unit which helps you and handholds you in getting a US patent. Now, he said, I have got more than 4,000 plus patents for US companies. I need to do something for our country. We met him about a couple of years ago. We requested him, why don't you set up an office in Bangalore, because Bangalore is Karnataka, the most happening places in this part of the world. Why not Bangalore? So we convinced him. He has set up a unit in RT Nagar, Bangalore. Now, what he does is, he knows that a lot of things are happening on the product space, a lot of things are happening on the services space, but they are not getting converted. They are not getting converted into IP. They are not getting converted into patents, be it Indian patents, be it US patents or European patents. Now, his main objective, because the moment I say US patent, I will think twice even before applying, looking at the kind of cost involved, the kind of energy, the kind of time, the kind of legal backing that I need to get a US patent. I would rather not do it. Now, similarly with regard to other patents which are in the currency all over the world. Now, Neeraj Gupta said, if there is a prototype which satisfies it to be given a patent, be it an Indian patent or be it any other patent, he only will require your signature in a form which is the required form, and he will do the rest. He will give you the legal backing. He will make the application. He will do the defense for you and ultimately give you a US patent or an Indian patent or whatever that you are looking forward to. You don't have to do anything except for developing a prototype and signing in on the application form. So this is the first step we took. That was about a couple of years ago. He has set up an office, and after he has set up an office, he has been talking to all the, most of the colleges, going to the colleges, talking to venture capitalists, going to seed funding agencies, going to angel investors, saying that, here I am, if you have a product which is patentable, which is amenable to an IP that is defined in the books, I'm here to ensure that you get a patent. So that was the first step we took because, as I said, getting a patent is not an easy thing. So his job is to do everything for you after you have developed a prototype. That's the first thing. Second, we were the first in the country to set up an innovation council. It's currently headed by Professor Kincha, who was a professor of the Indian Institute of Science and then subsequently became Vice Chancellor of the Technological University and now is a part of Manipal Education. He heads the Innovation Council. One of the thoughts that came to us was, why can't we compare ourselves? What is the kind of ecosystem that's there in countries which are comparable to what we are and who share our culture, who are also into education in the way that we are in? We saw a number of countries, and then we zeroed in on Taiwan for a variety of reasons. I don't know how many of you know, Taiwan is smaller than Bangalore district. In its geographical dimensions, it's smaller than Bangalore district. You will also not know, a small country like Taiwan, with a population of 23 million, just about 2.3 crores, 23 million produces 5 patents, US patents, every day of the year. Mind you, 5 US patents every day of the year. That's a record. They have 47,000 patents below their belt as of now. Now, what is it that made Taiwan tick and not other countries, including our own, to embark on that kind of a very ambitious, quote-unquote, scenario? Teams and teams of officers, academia, researchers were sent to Taiwan to study what is it that makes things happen. Why not in India? Why not in the kind of ecosystem that we are in? Does it encourage? Does it discourage? And what are the components, missing components, and in the jigsaw puzzle which we need to put them together? In fact, I visited Taiwan 4 times this year with different groups, once with researchers, once with academia. Once it was headed by Professor Rodam Narasimha, who's a big name. He's one of the technical advisors to the Prime Minister. This initiative is now currently headed by Professor C.N.R. Rao, who is chair of the Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research, and also the chairman of the Scientific Advisory Council to the Prime Minister. Professor Rodam Narasimha is one of the members. So one visit was with the researchers, one with the academia, one with the industry, to see how is it that they look at the scenario currently prevailing, and can we replicate that? Now, Taiwan has an institution called ITRI, ITRI. I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar with it. It's called Industrial Technology Research Institute, which has been the focus of these kinds of developments that we see, producing 5 patents every day with more than 47,000 patents below their belt. Now, what ITRI is, it's mind-boggling. Such a small country. See, when you see an incubation center, you normally ask how many seats are there. I may say 5, I may say 10, I may go up to 100. Maybe I go up to 500. I had never heard of an incubation center which is a 21,000-seater or a 16,000-seater. That's the scale that that small country is managing. And what ITRI does is, ITRI is the umbrella organization. It has researchers under the umbrella. It has engineers under the umbrella. It has entrepreneurs under its umbrella. It has labs. It has certifying agencies under umbrella. Everything under one umbrella. Take a hypothetical proposition. I want a cell phone. Today you have cell phones with 2 cameras. Suppose I say, I go to Italy and then say, I want a cell phone with 6 cameras. I just have to make an application to Italy. I want a cell phone with 6 cameras. I sign the application, give it to Italy. Lo and behold, 6 months down the line, I get a prototype of a cell phone with 6 cameras. And the beauty of it is, once Italy produces a prototype, the patent is given to the entrepreneur who has to commercialize and marketize the product. The annual budget of Italy is 1,500 million US dollars. Their annual budget is such that it's part funded by the state government. Just about 1/3, remaining 2/3 comes from royalty. But the patent is owned by the applicant, the entrepreneur. And they also see to it that suppose a patent has already been given for a particular product, they don't waste their resources in generating an identical prototype if an application is made by somebody else or by some other applicant. So they see to it that optimal utilization of resources, because it's a very small country with a very small population. So they manage the show by having all these 4 or 5 very important components under one umbrella. And if you have an incubation center of 21,000-seater or a 16,000-seater, you can imagine what will be the scale of innovations that they'll be doing. Even if 5 to 10% of them fructify into a good commercial product, we can land up with the kind of results that they are currently enjoying. So having looked at that, now what we are doing is we are trying to replicate that exercise in Karnataka. We have taken a decision that we will have an institution like ITRI in Bangalore, north of Bangalore. The issue was, where do we have it located? Because there's a lot of politics, and then everyone says it should be in my constituency, and so on and so forth. Then ultimately, Professor CNR decided the only place we need to be is where Professor Sir M. Visvesvaraya, Bharat Ratna Sir M. Visvesvaraya, who has been responsible for most of what we have today in terms of power, irrigation, blah, 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 what have you. The hometown of Sir M. Visvesvaraya, it's about 20 kilometers from the international airport, towards Hyderabad, towards Bellary. So we selected that place, Mokshagundam. M stands for Mokshagundam. So we selected about 250 acres of land. That's the place where the institution equivalent to ITRI is going to be. So look at the scenario where once the ITRI comes into position, and we'll give all the details of when this is going to come into position, maybe end of this year. Milestones that we are going to cover. What are the verticals where we are going to focus on? Because it cannot be everything. In fact, ITRI focuses only on 6 areas. So we thought maybe we start with 2 areas only. It could be IT, it could be BT, or it could be semicon, it could be embedded systems or whatever. So we decide on the verticals and then go ahead with it, and then establish ourselves, see to it that we meet the requirements of every budding startup entrepreneur, and see to it that we live up to the expectations of every stakeholder. So that's one initiative which is going to come through. The requirements of resources are huge, but we have been promised that resources would not be an issue once we take off. So that's one initiative which I'm sure may not be tomorrow, may not be next year, but at least 5 years, 10 years down the line is definitely going to make a dent on the innovation space, depending on the kind of verticals that we choose to focus on. Second, which is very important, again from a long-term point of view, not from the short-term point of view, not even from a medium-term point of view. All of us know where Indian Institute of Science is located, north of Bangalore, Yashwantpur. 100 years old, perhaps the only institution in the world which comes in Shanghai ranking below 25 sometime, otherwise it's below 50 more often than not. But the first institution in the Indian research space which figures in the top 25 or top 50. Now, more than 100 years old, as I said. Now, look at what is happening north of IAS. Immediately after IAS, then we saw Indian Institute of Astrophysics, the Raman Research Institute, the University of Agricultural Sciences, and then the Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research, and more recently, the National Center for Biological Sciences, then Indian Stem Cell Research Institute. It's about 5 years old now. I don't know how many of you had an occasion to see the TIFR in Mumbai, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. They have no place to expand. The way they are located today, they want to expand in a big way, but they can't expand. Now, TIFR is getting relocated, again, north of Bangalore. It's now being called International Center for Theoretical Sciences, ICTS. We handed over land to them about a couple of years ago. Construction work has started. They hope to commission the ICTS hopefully in about 18 months' time from now. So everything coming north of IASC. Now, an economy dependent on hydrocarbons cannot last long. We all of us know, looking at the way things are happening these days. Almost every month, every 2 months, you have a price hike in the hydrocarbon space. So nano is the future. It's only nano which can, take the economy and the globe and the world economy forward using the resources more optimally than what we have been doing hitherto. So looking at the promise that nano had, again, Professor C.N.R. Rao is the last word in nano in the world today. We thought we'll do something on this because, again, we have been pioneers in science in more ways than one. Why not on the nano front also? So we took a decision to set up the country's first Indian Institute of Nanoscience and Technology, again, north of IASC. It's about 12 kilometers from IASC. We gave land to the institute, and the institute is now coming up in a big way. It should be functional in about 10 months' time, 10 to 12 months' time from now. Now, once you have a Nano Institute of Science and Technology, you produce a lot of items. You also need to commercialize it. You need to marketize it. So then we said we need to have a nano park where startups and entrepreneurs can productize the research and the engineering products produced in the Institute of Nanoscience and Technology. So we are coming up with Nano Park. We had invited global tenders. Two of the biggest players in the nanosphere have been shortlisted, and hopefully one of them would be selected to develop the Nano Park. Again, all this happening north of IASC. A couple of years ago, we got a request from Engineers of Science saying that their present campus, where they are located now, it's about 497 acres. They need to expand in a big way, and they wanted about 2,000 acres. Now, that kind of land is neither available in the city center, nor in the peripheries of Bangalore, nor anywhere close to Bangalore. So we said we have a couple of options, but place A, place B, place C, we showed them places. And they chose a place called Chitradurga, which is about 3 hours drive from where we are. It's on the national highway to Pune. So we gave about 2,000 acres of land to them about 2 years ago. Now, once IASC found its roots, they have already started the operation, training facilities for teachers and the teaching faculty in the universities, colleges, higher teaching institutions. They have started in a way, but of course, civil work is yet to start in a big way. They are using some of the existing infrastructure available, but they have very big plans. Once IASC got the land, we got a request from ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, saying that if IASC is in Chitradurga, we also need to be next to IASC, because a lot of research that we want, we desire, we work on comes from IASC. So they wanted another 1,000 acres. We gave 1,000 acres to ISRO, next to IASC, again in Chitradurga. Once these two were in Chitradurga, we got a request from DRDO, Defense Research Development Organization, saying that if IASC and its sister organization, ISRO, is in Chitradurga, then you can't leave us behind. We need another 1,500 acres. So we gave another 1,500 acres to DRDO. Once DRDO, ISRO, and IASC were there, we got a request from BARC, Bhabha Atomic Research Center, Department of Atomic Energy, Government of India, saying that how can you leave us when all these three are together? That was about 6 months ago. They wanted another 500 acres. We gave them 500 acres. 2 weeks ago, we got a request from National Aeronautics Laboratory, NAL, saying that if all these four are there, NAL has to be in the midst of all this. So they wanted 500 acres. We gave another 500 acres to them. Last 2 weeks and not, we have not received any fresh request, but these 5 organizations have been handed over physical possession of land, and IASC has been the first one to start activities. All other organizations have started, the survey work and so on and so forth. Just think of it. 14,000 acres of land given to these 5 organizations, north of IASC, located 3 hours from where we are today. What will be the scenario 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line? It will be the biggest knowledge hub in the world. 14,000 acres of land given to these top 5 research institutes. In fact, NAL is also going to build a runway there for testing some of the aircraft plans that they have up their sleeve. So each one of these 5 organizations, once they go full stream, you can imagine what will be the kind of ecosystem that will be developing between IASC Campus 1 and IASC Campus 2. We hope that in about 20 years' time, it will be the biggest knowledge hub in the world, with each one of these organizations coming out with, the kind of scenario that we are looking at, having learned from Taiwan. So ITRI coming north of Bangalore, north of IASC, all these developments happening. So the opportunities are going to be aplenty. That's one of the reasons why I thought, since the audience comprises mostly of entrepreneurs, startups, established companies, CEOs, CTOs, and CFOs, it's good to share some of these thoughts because we need a lot of inputs. It's not that government is going to decide all these things sitting within 4 walls in the ivory tower. All these inputs have come from technocrats, businessmen, entrepreneurs, both present, prospective, and academia in a big way. So I just thought I'll share these thoughts with you. We are doing our best to ensure that, at least in the next 10 to 20 years' time, whatever needs to be done to ensure that we have the right ecosystem for promoting innovations, from promoting R&D, is put in place. At least the last generation could not take much advantage of it. At least the next generation, let them be an integral part of what they rightly deserve. The decade 2010 to 2020 has been declared as the decade of innovation in India. In fact, in one of the conferences which was held in Palo Alto about 8 to 9 months ago, December of 2011, 110 countries decided that if we have to make a serious dent on the innovation front, we also need to change the name of the Department of Science and Technology. And they decided that innovation should necessarily figure as a very prominent term in the name of Department of Science and Technology. The first initiative was taken by UK. They changed the name of their department from the Department of Science and Technology to Department of Science, Technology and Innovation. Thereafter, it was followed by South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and some smaller countries. But then we need to pick up the threads from what happened, what was discussed in that 2-day seminar in USA. What are the steps that we need to take to ensure that we put back innovation and R&D and intellectual property back on rails? Because why I'm saying back on rails is, if you know what Thomas Alva Edison, the incandescent bulb, more than 100 years ago, he had more than 1,000 failed experiments. But if you ask him, he never said, I had 1,000 failed experiments. He only said, I know 1,000 ways it will not work. So it's a question of mindset. And if we want to solve the problems of 21st century, we need a 21st century mindset. And for that mindset to take full advantage of the ecosystem, we need to put all these components in position. So we are trying to do whatever best is possible from the state sector. I've only given you some of these initiatives, but there are very many other initiatives which we are taking. In fact, the biggest information technology park, again, maybe in this part of the world, I'm not fully familiar to make a very categorical statement, of 10,000 acres plus is coming up on the airport road between Devanalli and Dodballapur. 10,000 acres of land with a hardware park built into it, because we are non-entities in the hardware sector. So it will be the biggest in the country, or maybe biggest in this part of the world, in one piece, 10,000 acres. The first nano park, which I already mentioned, is going to come up very shortly. And within this 10,000 acres, we are building up a park exclusively for Taiwanese industries, because Taiwan has now agreed to collaborate with us, venture with us, partner with us in a big way. In fact, today in Bangalore, we have more than 400 industrialists. When I say industrialists, all of them are in the electronic space, be it semicon, be it VLSI, be it embedded systems, be it LED or OLED. They're all into this space. 400 of them are in Bangalore. In fact, as of yesterday, 14 joint venture partnerships have already been signed. We are looking at least about 100 of them getting matured, at least in the next 2 to 3 years' time. So we are doing whatever is possible on the basis of the inputs that we have already got from the industry, from the academia, from the research sector, to ensure that we are at least next 5 years, next 10 years' time, number one in trying to produce the products which the next 10 years or 20 years require, and put innovation back on rails, put IP back on rails, put R&D back on rails, because these are the initiatives which will help develop, which will help enrich the ecosystem to meet the requirements of each one of the stakeholders, be it the business, be it the entrepreneurs, be it academia, university, or what have you. As I said, there are very many other initiatives. I've just cited some of them because, in my view at least, unless we think hard, work hard, do a lot of legwork on this front, we will be losing out to other countries, in a very big way. Because, as I said, we are losing out even in textiles, which was our, most important sector for more than 200 years' time. We are losing out to very, very small countries, very, very small economies, because we are still depending on the technologies that we developed 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But the market is changing almost on a daily basis. Again, how technology can help us to gain the lost ground. 10 years ago, we were net importers of cotton, raw cotton, net importers. We didn't produce enough cotton. About 9 years ago, we introduced BT cotton. 9 years ago. And in 9 years' time, you can imagine the change in scenario. In 9 years' time, today we are not only self-sufficient, we have the largest area in the world under BT cotton, overtaking China 5 years ago. So it's technology which is going to help us, which is going to put us back on rails. Technology supported by innovation, technology supported by the kind of R&D and IP which is absolutely essential for going ahead with innovation. In fact, it is mind-boggling if you visit Taiwan. If you haven't, please visit. I urge you to visit to see the pulse of what's happening in that very small country. Some of the latest devices which they are coming out with. This small piece of white paper, this is your speaker. That's the latest which they are coming out. I'm only giving you some examples. This is a paper. You have a tuner with you. You can carry this wherever you want. It's a wireless speaker. So, in LED, of course, globally they are number one in the world. But these are the things which are going to make life very easy, which was what Steve Jobs said. He said, don't take it easy, but make it easy. And I'm sure you'll agree with me. If you use an iPhone or an iPad, he has lived up to that philosophy to the last word, to the last letter. Thanks very much for your attention and patience. I would love to share some more thoughts with you, maybe in a different forum. But we are doing our best to ensure that, at least in the technology space, the advantage that Karnataka has, the advantage that Bangalore has, we try to encash on that. We try to enrich the ecosystem. Investments are going to be huge in the days to come. You can be sure that we'll make the state a land of opportunities and a land of